definition of the please.
All right, here we are at the opening of the bell, and we'll let Jim Cramer talk. He got the bell going off in about a minute. Futures are looking relatively pretty weak after China had to trigger a 7% loss last night. So let's listen to Jim, and we'll see the bell open in about 53 seconds.
This morning, Mike Santoli, our markets commentator, that the world sells overnight, and then we start nibbling in the afternoon, like a countrywide buyback. Do you buy that?
Well, yes, because overnight they'll be down, say, 14% in Asia, all in China. That China's not as bad the rest. And then the book goes to Europe, and the book goes down 3.5. And then by the time it gets here, we go down 2.5, and then we rally at the call. I like Santoli's analysis. It's very coaching.
All that said, World Bank cuts their outlook for 16. They see now 2.9 global growth. That's down from 3.3. China, they see 6.7. Actually, they took U.S. up to 2.7.
That's actually.
All right, here we go. Opening bell soon, about 7 seconds. See what happens.
Remember, the spin here is negative on what you do. I mean, you know, I found myself saying Ken Griffey didn't belong in the Hall of Fame. What is that about? I mean, Ken Griffey, I mean, his stock has fallen dramatically.
There he goes. The Dow's dropping. It's plummeting. 92.9. S&P 1618, 1641, 1649. NASDAQ down over 100 already.
Even be sanguine in the face of Oregon having an insurrection. And
WTI is down, obviously. Oil. Gold is up if you like gold.
I mean, let's just keep in mind the market.
It's been trending upward, especially with as people flee to safety. Down over 170 right now. They're expecting. I'm expecting a 2.5% drop. It's going to be over 200 the next time we flash on there. You know, China put. Let me silence this. China put about $20 billion into the market 2 days ago, and it kept it up a little bit, but it was not able to sustain. They're hoping that China will intervene again. Last night, as I said, the market triggers went off and stopped trading after it reached about 7%. There we are, 226 down. And so now you're filling it across the nation. Now we've had 3 days. We had Monday, it was down significantly. It was pretty much flatlined on Tuesday after the Chinese injected $20 billion. Down significantly yesterday, and it does appear to be that we're going to be down again today as the talking heads are there on CNBC. All right, this is Francesco Abbruzzino. This is the Uncensored Report. It's a one-man show. I do everything from the websites to the social media to the production of this thing, the research, everything. Everything you see with any of the scoops or the Uncensored Report, it's all my doing. So blame me, yell at me. I had someone today come on and announce to me that they're leaving the page because they don't like my news sources. Obviously, someone to the left because he didn't like something that was on the right. And it's like, oh my gosh. So, so when I post something on the left, I can get people that write me from the right saying, you're too far leftist, and you can't win. It is unscripted, unedited. I basically pull up some research documents, and I ad-lib it from there. Try to do about an hour, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's start actually with the headlines. Let me make sure you guys are on the split screen. I screwed that up yesterday, didn't I? All right, let's see. Headlines out there, more than I just posted this. More than 1,000 fake life jackets were found in a raid in Turkey, and that's not even the kicker, the fact that they were fake. The kicker is that they were using all these Syrian children in there to manufacture them as cheap labor, slave labor, whatever you want to deem it. Paris. This is footage I put up there from earlier where a guy was running around with a knife yelling Abu Akbar, I can't even say it. And, you know, the question is when are we going to start to ban knives? We've had a lot of knife devs, and we need to ban these knives. I tell you what, something's out of control here, folks. All right, this is about a child rape, but it does have a warning before it, and it's distressing, disturbing, to say the least. This is something local here where they fired the local coach with the Buccaneers, and they did it via a phone call instead of in person, and so the news media, major media is out there making a big deal out of it. This is a coach. You know, I'm not sure what's wrong with these coaches. Here you got a high school coach headbutts the referee. Earlier this year, we had a football coach send his team out to put a hit on the umpires. So what's this society coming to? That guy should be ashamed. Ethiopia kicking us out, the United States out with our drone program. What's this here? Whooping cough. Case of whooping cough. Not good. Over in Crestwood School District. And so that's never good. This is again on that knife attack, and it is on the anniversary today. Today is the anniversary of the Charlie Hebdo attack, which was you had a few guys come in and extremists, again, Muslim extremists, go in and just shoot up the place because they didn't like a cartoon of Muhammad that they put out there. A lot of Democrats are getting upset and blasting Obama over the raids, the DHS raids that are going on, and they're raiding a lot of locations. It was Georgia and Texas, and it's going to be nationwide, where they're going in, they're getting all these people, and they're saying, okay, sorry, we got to ship you back. And that's due to a lot of pressure from the United States, from the Republican Party, obviously, not the Democrats. This is an interview where Clinton went on. She was threatening Bill's accusers, and it cracks me up that she wants to be the feminist out there fighting sexism and everything, yet her husband was the biggest he was the biggest sexist person out there. He took advantage of every woman he could. And yet she wants to put him out there, and she wants to criticize Donald Trump, which is simply amazing. This is a picture from Syria and how they're besieged there with the Hezbollah fighting the Syrian regime. It's never a pretty picture over there. Let's see what else we got. It's going a little slow because I'm running so many programs right now, especially with that CNBC on the other screen. I probably should take that down. Social media helped to catch this guy. This was a designated driver. She was driving home from a party with her sorority girls, and some guys from that apparently went to the same party pulled up. They had some words, and this Marine shot her. I think he shot 2 shots into the car, one hitting her in the head, which is a travesty. And let's see, we got 40,000 backlog. This is in St. Pete at the VA Regional. Backlog of people trying to get benefits through there. I'm one of them. I applied about 3 years ago. I have not heard from the VA. And it continues. The problems continue to go on there. It's epidemic. And it's been, what, a year or two? And still they're not getting anywhere. They're not resolving the issues that are out there. New dietary guidelines to cut sugar. Eat more vegetables. I'm not sure that's new. That's common sense. Everybody should be doing it. Again, the Abu Akbar, that's the guy right there on the ground. The knifeman, he had an explosive belt on. The whole Saudi Arabia, Iranian issue is heating up. The Saudi warplanes attacked the Iranian embassy in Yemen. And it's starting to escalate. They've had this proxy war. I've covered this a few days. All the turmoil in the Middle East can be brought back to 2 countries, Iran and Saudi Arabia. Iran, the Shiites; Saudi Arabia, the Shia. And they're just fighting each other through this proxy war. There was in Iraq. Actually, the Saudis financed Iraq's invasion of Iran in a war that lasted 10 years. It's been going on for years, folks. I mean, about 20 years or something like that, if not longer. And who's going to be the dominant power broker out there in the Middle East? And I hope this doesn't escalate where the 2 countries eventually go out into war versus these proxies that they've been out there doing. So, let's see. We got, I'm going to cover that, a lot of the issues with Obama, because right now the Republicans are out there pushing now to impeach him for many of his offenses. You had some Republicans out there that were saying, look, he's got a year left. I think even Donald said that. Let's let him finish. Let's let him take off. Let bygones be bygones. But now you have other Republicans with this gun control executive order that are just, that was like the final thing. They're like, that's it. We can't take it anymore. We have to do something. This guy's reckless. Fake cop run around Temple Terrace. That's up here in Tampa. They're putting out an alarm on that. Right now, this was happening today. Workers are trapped in an elevator in a mine in New York. And I can't remember the exact number of people in there, and they're down 775 feet underground. So, serious situation there. We'll see what happens, and maybe I should, let me turn that let's go to CNBC, see where the market is. It's down 261 points. I'm going to shut that screen down because it's just killing my bandwidth. There we go. All right, this is a sheriff come out. This guy's been an outspoken individual for gun rights and following the Constitution, and he basically came out slamming Clinton and Obama on their anti-gun or anti-Second Amendment action. This is a lovely family, and there's some interesting commentary on there, but you know, they're teaching their daughter a trade. I mean, look at this. These two idiots are in here shoplifting, and they have their daughter. Their daughter comes in and does all the stealing for them. Watch, she's going to come up eventually at the top, bottom right side of the screen. There she is, the young lady. And they've trained their daughter to steal. This is the grandma, the mother, and the daughter. And I take it that the grandmother must have trained the mother, and now the mother's passing that knowledge and information on to her daughter, who is there on the bottom right. And you'll see eventually she's going to steal some of the stuff. She's going to do the five-finger discount is what we call it. And a lot of people have been talking about that on Facebook today on the page regarding just the morals there. It's disgusting. They both need to go straight to jail. Gian Battle said, call CPS, get the kid out of there. Report Obama's free college. There's a move out there to basically write off your college debt, but only if you go out and buy a house. It's amazing some of these schemes they pull off out there in regard. Here's a guy, he just showed up, imposter on stage, and Osborne kicked him off. Some fluff. This is what I call the fluff. TSA video, I finally found that. I put that out there. The accidental student loan battle, and that's the whole mortgage story out there. Forgive your student loan, and you can go out and buy a house. And I'm sure many of the corporate America just loves that one. Here's a Texas councilman, I believe he was. He was busted smuggling illegals across the border. Always good. He's down there in Texas. And this is on Lovey Smith, where the Bucks let him go. And a lot of people were just devastated by it. And this was interesting. This was a little Lamborghini. The water, if you go to my page, you'll see it. The water essentially covers this whole car as he tries to drive through this puddle there. It was pretty neat. And let's see. Lawyers went to Rahm Emanuel and said, let's squash some of the information on the LaQueen McDonald shooting. And a lot of people, before this information came out, were calling for Rahm's head, and I'm sure they're going to want it now. This was an interesting documentary. It's about, I think, like 12 minutes long, and it covers the status of Libya after we've gone in and gotten rid of Gaddafi, and now how the ISIS is controlling it, Al-Qaeda. There's different extremist factions are there. You see here, Islamic State is targeting Libya's oil supply. And it's amazing, you know, you got 237 people interested in that, but you got a few thousand already interested in the kid that's stealing, and that was posted later than it. People just, I don't get it. People just aren't interested in what's happening out there in our society. A thermonuclear device with North Korea. Now they might be saying, well, it's own news, but only 248 people reached on that. And I'm always amazed at how disconnected individuals are in terms of what's going out there in society and what's important and what's not important. They believe watching these videos are more important than some of the other stuff that's out there. There's guy, yeah, the stabbing of the vest. This is in France, I believe. South Korea, they start to loudspeakers blasting out in North Korea, and propaganda. That whole issue is heating up again. You got the Koreas that are heating up because this idiot went out and did what he called the hydrogen bomb test. Many are refuting that. China's not happy, or Japan's not happy about it. China's not happy about it because it's causing instability. China's already got issues out there with the South China Sea. Vietnam's pissed at them. Japan's pissed at them. Korea's pissed at them. You got Russia with the Ukraine, and you got Europe with the Ukraine too, because that's part of Europe. You got the whole migrant crisis that's going on there with the 1,000 migrants basically sexually assaulting and raping women in Germany. And throughout Germany on New Year's Eve, it was a travesty, and it was trying to be covered up by Merkel and by Reckel, the mayor there in Cologne. I mean, there's just so much going on in the world out there, yet you got Obama disconnected. He's worried about putting through, creating a national gun registry. And it always amazes me. Sometimes I just wonder, where is his head at? What is he thinking? And I said it yesterday, is this the best we can come up with? Are these people the best we can come up with in society to run for president? We get 380 million people. We have to do better than this. Here's a poor kid, died of an apparent heroin overdose. Sad, tragic. Sleep, there's a new study out. I saw that sleep there. There's a new study out actually says how sleep impacts, has a significant impact on Alzheimer's. I think I posted it yesterday, which was, I guess it's revolutionary, the information that came out from the study. Finally, they got the dash cam released on this poor lady. She was sick at the hospital. She didn't want to leave when they released her, so the police came out dragging her out, and she ended up dying. And let's see, what do we got here? Boss tells the employee go to the doctor, saves his life. People are upset about that picture with Chris Hemsworth. The market, obviously, it's ugly today. All kinds of neat little stories up there. A lot of fluff. A jewelry robber. She's been stealing from a lot of places. But as you guys all know, I personally like to cover the hard stuff. Not this fluff. The fluff is on there to draw more people to the page, which it does. My likes are over 300 a week that I'm adding to that page. To increase the reach is about 500,000 on there weekly. So I'm reaching 2 million people a month with that page. And just the overall involvement, which the engagement, they call it the engagement, it's significant too, up there around 7,500,000, somewhere in there. So that's why the fluff is in there. Because as you see with these reach numbers, people just aren't interested in what's happening out there. The stuff that's impacting their lives. The stock market, it's significantly going to impact you. You may not have money in the stock market, but a lot of these big business leaders, a lot of the wealthy people do. And guess what? When they lose money, it has a trickle-down effect. And so you got to get out there. You got to get involved. You got to be focused on this stuff. Pay attention. Be relevant out there. With Obama, and this article came out basically, and it said, look, here's 75 things that he's done to violate our Constitution. He's broken federal law, and we're glad finally Republicans are going after him. And they named stuff like the Operation Fast and Furious. That's where Obama went out there and facilitated the sale of thousands of guns out to the Mexican cartels and stopped tracking those weapons. They did the same thing essentially with ISIS when they sent authorized shipment of weapons over to the Syrian moderates, and they essentially just handed them over to ISIS. What else you got? The attempt to shut down gun stores, and his latest edict about gun control in the National Data Registry is just one of many things. They're buying up a ton of rounds of ammo out there that isn't necessarily needed, like 750,000 rounds to the EPA. But on gun control, they're out there, and the U.S. Department of Justice has been pressuring people, banks, not to allow gun stores to open up accounts. And they called it Operation Checkpoint. That's been going on for a while. You don't hear major media talking about it, but it's out there. And a lot of people might be amazed that this type of stuff happens, but it does happen. Spending our tax dollars to resettle a lot of these illegals that are coming across the border. Have Border Patrol pay for tickets to move them and resettle them. Why is my money being spent on that? I don't want to spend on that. His pin and phone action with the executive action that he just recently took, putting people on saying he's going to prevent people on this no-fly list, which is not accurate at all, which is very difficult to get off, to not purchase guns. And it's going to violate our whole Fifth Amendment due process. But he doesn't care. How about the targeting of the IRS? Anybody that had Tea Party or Patriot or anything. You didn't really hear anything about that. They approved, I think they approved 500 left-leaning organizations and only one right-leaning organization for nonprofit status. Going after gun records with journalists. The intervention in Libya, he did that without congressional approval. He took Bush's unconstitutional faith-based programs and expanded that. He expanded Bush's unconstitutional Patriot Act. So it's not just Obama. This is Bush. Bush created a lot of that stuff, but Obama continued it. He supports warrantless wiretapping, spying on American citizens, ordered private companies to fire employees. It just goes on and on and on. He lied about letting people keep their health insurance. Oh, you're going to be able to keep that health insurance. Oh, we're going to lower rates. We didn't see anything like that. The overall cost of Obamacare, they hid that. And it's all documented. So much information has come out on all this stuff, folks, but people just are not paying attention. And this all impacts you. It all impacts you. The expansion of TSA. I was out at reporting on the Donald Trump rally. And a TSA agent was there dressed in a sheriff's outfit telling me I couldn't film. What is she doing in Sarasota? And she was the leader. I asked her, she was standing right there, and I said, where do you go for the press entrance to this lady? She said, you got to talk to her. So I turned, and she said, don't film me. And she knew I was press. She knew what I was doing there. But she was the leader, the person in charge of that whole operation there. But it just truly amazes me. This was an interesting article, and a lot of it's pretty factual. So check it out if you get a chance. That is at theuncensoredreport.com. It covers everything from everything he's done, from the gun control. I've been hitting on the gun control like crazy. This executive order, and it's not just Obama, it's Bush, it's everybody else that does this executive orders. It's the ridiculous Congress, which is led by Republicans, which refuse to take action against Obama because when they get in office, they want to have the same control, the same powers, the same abilities. And so they don't care that Obama's out there usurping legislative authority with this executive action on guns. And the whole you got the whole threat of the separation of powers doctrine out there, which our whole Constitution is based upon. So he goes out there, he says, okay, we're going to create a national registry. We're going to have the ATF come in there, and the ATF's already busy enough. But, hey, you can't even sell a gun without getting on this FFL holders list, and it costs money. You're going to have to get on there. You won't be able to sell your gun. If your gun's stolen, you got to go out there and do this, and you got to do X and Y and Z. And there's also the matter of the upcoming presidential elections. He's pushing more gun control. The president's giving a present to the Republican Party for now. They're running with it. This is great. This whole gun control. This guy acting so disconnected from reality. And again, folks, remember, you got I just mentioned earlier, all the stuff that's going on throughout the nation. And what is Obama doing? He is focused on climate change. He is focused on taking away our guns. You know why? I was saying about this. Why he wants to take away the guns. I was in the gym, and I'm like, I'm looking at the market. I was watching CNBC, and I'm seeing the market just nosedive again today. And I'm thinking, let's think about this. Why would you want to restrict people from having guns? Besides the tyrannical reasons. What if the economy takes a dive and people start getting out of control? Let's get their guns. What if you start to implement a socialist utopia that you want, your agenda, which is being done now? You don't want people to uprise against you. You want to go with a one world government, new world order. It's funny. I think China said one of the biggest things they look at. Somebody asked them once about invading the United States, and they said, one of the biggest things we look at is everybody's got a gun there. You're not just facing the military. Every single citizen there has a gun. And so you have to take that into consideration, that factor. And that's what our forefathers wanted, to protect against our tyrannical governments, like we're witnessing now, and also to be able to protect ourselves against other tyrannical governments, the Chinas or anything else out there. And, maybe some type of gun control, they want to call gun control legislation, has to be put in place. But the problem is you give them a little bit and they incrementally take more and more and more. And that's the concern many people have. Does some stuff make sense? Is it sensible? Possibly, yeah, but if you give them a little bit, they take a lot. Or they write within the legislation, or executive orders in this case, or executive memoranda, all kinds of other stuff that people don't read, because we know our congressmen don't read our senators, they don't read the bills, so they just pass them and famously say, we'll know what's in it after we pass it. By then, you can't bring it back. You can't pull the legislation. It's law. So you got I just talked about Saudi Arabia too, and a lot of people will be like, what's causing all this? And a lot of it is that the pipeline, that was part of the issue, I think, with going in and throwing over Assad. And it all boils down to the oil. And, let's look at Saudi Arabia. It's the beheading paradise. You go in there and they'll behead you left and right. It's a PR nightmare for them. They got problems with their oil. The oil price is killing their economy. Black gold, Texas teas. So the Saudi Arabia's whole oil strategy basically boils down to shaving off its oil production, no matter what it takes. Even issue bonds. And they're doing this for us. They're essentially a puppet. They're doing it to try to drive down the price of oil, which they're hoping in turn will impact Russia with all the sanctions that are against them. But it's not really doing that. It's having an opposite effect. The House of Assad, basically their budget has crashed. It's unwinnable with these oil prices where they're at. They got the fighting going on over in Yemen. They're trying to buy up billions of dollars in weapons. They got the Syrian conflict that they're financially supporting. Egypt, they're over there trying to help the al-Sisi in Egypt. You got their support, financial support for Daesh or Islamic State, and let's not forget the Muslim Brotherhood. It's essentially a royal mess over there. And you got us, and we're in there. We're trying to hold these prices down so that we can, the United States is, so we can destroy Russia's economy. And we're doing this using the Persian Gulf producers. We're doing it via proxy from them. But it's not working. It's not working at all. And unfortunately, Saudi Arabia is just a mere pawn in this game. And I predict, folks, that this whole Middle East is going to erupt. That is going to be the next hotspot. And a lot of people are already out there saying, you know what? We're already in World War III. It's already started. This whole Middle East conflict, it's just the beginning. And think about everybody that's being pulled into it. First, it started with Iraq. Then Saudi Arabia, they went into Yemen. You have Syria. You have the whole Libya thing. It didn't first, Libya. You have the issues over there in Lebanon. You have the Israel factor. You have the Iranian factor. Pakistan. It's all coming to an head. Afghanistan. And then, of course, the foreign policy that Obama doesn't like to talk about is this whole Korea thing now. It's a familiar pattern. This whack job out there goes out. He detonates a bomb. Makes some kind of declaration of success. Media pushes it. The photos, South Koreans get all upset about it. And, what you got to look at is the whole effects of all this. Essentially, what it does is for North Korea, it cements them into the elite club of people that have nuclear weapons, and it says, "Hey, look, you can't forget about us. Look at us out there." It's earning this Kim Jong nut job considerable grace in the eyes of his populace. That he's out there, he's standing strong, he's standing up to the United States. In Washington, you got this appetite for sanctions, legislation, targeting actions via the Department of Treasury. going after Korea. They're not going to like that. It's just going to, again, make for a dire situation there. You have South Korea. They're over there and they're on alert now. They're pulling out the loudspeakers again, blasting stuff over at North Korea. They're now asking the United States, hey, we need some kind of weaponry, specialized weaponry. We need more here. So just so that we could fend off an attack, a possible attack. Everyone's always worried about attack, but this guy is always threatening an attack, and he never does anything. Like I said, he's a nut job. His father was a nut job. You know, and you have, what is funny, it's a little ironic, is you got all these nuclear states that are out there getting all upset because he's got a nuclear bomb and tested them. Forget the fact that we have the nuclear bombs, we have the hydrogen bombs, we have the atom bombs, we've tested them all over the place. Russia's got them, China, Germany, Italy, Japan, South Korea. They're all condemning these guys for this hydrogen bomb. And, you know, but yet we've done it. And guess what? The real nuclear threat here, folks, is us and Russia in the conflict that we have and the new Cold War that's coming out there. We have nearly, if you look at everything all together, we have nearly 2,000 strategically deployed, 3,000 reserve non-deployed, and a stockpile of about 5,000 nuclear weapons. And that's for each, Russia and the United States. We're about balanced. France has 300 nuclear weapons. China has about 260. UK 215. Israel has 80, even though they don't say they have any. Pakistan around 130. India 120. That's another hotspot, Pakistan, India. Two nuclear foes. You know, so we're out there. The United States is one of the only countries that has dropped a nuclear bomb on anybody. And a lot of people are wondering, what's the big deal? You guys have nuclear bombs. Why can't we have the nuclear bombs? And so it does always amaze me when you see stuff like that. Now, I wanted to touch on one thing with the Hammonds, that whole issue out there in Oregon, and what it's really about. And I think there's some confusion, some gray area out there, and people are losing. They're all hearing about this armed militia that's in there, and that's all you're really hearing about. But you're not hearing about the real issue down there, which is private property and the federal government and the power of the state over individuals to assume that the government owns the majority of land out there, which they do not. And the federal government is essentially saying, look, you're lucky to be able to graze on here and pay reasonable fees. But a lot of people out there, a lot of the proponents of state power over individuals, they're out there arguing that there's a property clause permit, a centralized federal government to hold state lands for a variety of reasons, and the interpretation of it. And it runs counter to what they're doing out there, runs counter to what that clause essentially says. And basically, it's that once a territory is organized as a state, once it's admitted into the union, it's on equal footings with other states. The state government assumes sovereignty over federal lands. And the federal government essentially only has rights to it as an individual proprietor. And that's what all this is coming down to, is a lot of the land grabbing, unconstitutional land grabbing by the federal government to go after those resources, which I've covered, I think 2 or 3 days ago. The oil reserves, the minerals. And that's what the government wants. And the Hammonds were the last group, last family, last property owners out there that are getting in the way of them having this complete land all around there. But you don't hear any of that. You just hear that it's a militia out there, an armed militia. Now, I don't agree the Bundys shouldn't have gone out there. I get what they're saying. I don't think they should have gone out there. And that's a whole problem in itself. But I wanted to point on that because not too many people do, unless you watch alternative media, is what they're all getting upset about. You know, that whole thing, Hammonds, with the burning of the fields for invasive species. I quoted someone earlier this week or last week where they were with the BLM, and they said that's common practice. BLM allows it all the time, and Hammonds are the only ones that have ever been arrested for it. Truly amazing, folks. Truly. Okay, so we got the market crashing. We got it going down. I think I covered yesterday the dire situation with people that barely have $500 to pay medical bills. And what this is all evolving, are all coming from the fact that our middle class is eroding. Our middle class is no longer the majority. And a lot of that's due to the wages that I covered, I think, on Monday. But for 4 decades, the middle class was the majority, comprised most Americans, but it's been declining. And it's slightly less than 50%. So the Pew went out, the Pew Research Center, they went out, they ran a study and everything. And they found that the shift in the income away from middle class since 1970 was even more dramatic than the upper class gaining the most, which is part of the problem that we're having out there right now. You know, it's even worse news for the middle class. While incomes in all the categories from 1970 to 2014, middle, lower income households had much smaller gains than the upper class households. Well, that was probably until the stock market crashed for the last 3 days. And what they're saying, this Pew research basically came out and said that the outlook is looking dim for the whole net worth of the middle class, that it's shrinking compared to the upper class families that are out there. And that's because the middle class has a higher proportion of their income in the homes versus the stock market, which the wealthy tend to invest in. And like I said, this market's hitting them big time. I think I posted something on Jeff Bezos yesterday, losing $8 billion, and our heart bled for him. But what we are seeing, folks, is a significant decline in the middle class. And it goes beyond the obvious economic factors that are out there. You need a strong middle class. You need a strong middle class because it's the hallmark of a free society. It's a hallmark of good health. It's a hallmark of strength. And you get this with a strong middle class. And that's how the free market works, with the middle class that is successful, with political freedom, with that middle class. And that's the key difference between a free society and an authoritarian society, is one that has a stronger middle class, has few party elites at the top. So Pew went out, they did this thing, how possibly we're marching towards economic ruin because of our shrinking middle class. Setting up alarm bells. Are we sliding towards socialism? You're seeing a lot of socialistic moves. Obamacare, that's a slide towards socialism. Big government. Our government's grown significantly. The shrinking of the private portions of our economy. Slide, the transition towards socialism. But, you know, there's always hope out there that something will happen. Maybe we'll get maybe Donald Trump will get elected and turn it around. Maybe he won't. Maybe it'll be Hillary. Then we're really going to get in a mess, folks. You're going to see even more. You know, I talked yesterday how people barely have I think it was 63% of Americans don't have $500 to pay off an emergency medical bill, or a car breaking down, or an AC unit going out. That number is going to drive up to 84%. I mean, what a travesty that you don't have $500 to handle a simple car bill repair. That's the society we're living in now. People will go out, they'll use credit cards, and they'll max themselves out and get even further in debt. You know, and who's that impact? You're not going out to restaurants. You're not going out. You're not buying goods. And so, essentially, you're seeing a depletion of American savings accounts. And they said it essentially started during the last recession or upturn in 2008. You're showing that the older, the wealthier people are doing fine, but not the middle class people that are out there. The heart of America. The heart of our society, folks. Some of that's due to Obamacare. You know, I got this article here where they came in, they did an audit, and they found out that the subsidies are going to those who actually paid premiums. They're not going to the people that they're supposed to essentially go to. And there's a huge disconnect there. And essentially they came in, they said, we can't ensure that whether Obamacare subsidies have gone to individuals that have actually paid for health insurance through the marketplace or where it's going at all. Basically, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid, they've been relying on the insurance companies to make sure that low-income enrollees had actually paid their monthly premiums. And because what happens is I found out that the subsidies go out to these people first, and a lot of them aren't even signing up. They're not even paying for the insurance. And then I think they had a number on this report. Let me see. Here it is. The audit verified that the agency could not verify up to $2.8 billion in subsidies that were doled out over the first 4 months of 2014. That's 2.8 in the first 4 months, folks. That's not the other 8 months of last year. And with this kind of disconnect, why would you want government doing anything? Why would you want government putting their hands into anything, managing anything? And this is one of many travesties that come along with Obamacare. We talked about not getting as much time with doctors, the shortage of doctors because doctors don't want to participate in the network. People, they came out and said, look, apparently people are sicker than we thought. United Healthcare, they want to pull out of it. That's one of the biggest insurers out there. So that's another issue with Obamacare leading up to that. You know, one thing I didn't want to talk about, we saw that incident with the child that died with a heroin overdose. I posted on the wall. And I posted an article that I thought was interesting. I think it's a great concept, and that's where, God, what state was it? I think it was Illinois, where you can go in and sue a doctor that's over-prescribing pain pills and got you addicted. West Virginia was it. Thank you. They just talked to my ear. What a great idea. How many of these doctors are out there overzealously giving away pain pills left and right like candy? Why not hold them accountable? These doctors are creating this epidemic. And, you know, a lot of them have shifted because pain pills have become so expensive. So I think someone said $80 a pill or something like that. They're going now to heroin. You can go on and get a hit for $20. And that's the new dark little dirty secret out here. I saw a documentary the other day on, I think it was New Hampshire, and they talked, it's what is it, on HBO or something like that, and they followed some heroin users. They look like normal everyday people. Tragically, one of the people overdosed at the end there. But you're seeing this across America. I think Bradenton, right up the street here, is one of the worst. Major media doesn't really hit it, although they are here because it's such epidemic levels. The Sarasota Herald, the Bradenton Herald, they're covering it pretty good here. But major media, the national-wide ones, aren't really covering it. And they, you know, this article threw out some startling numbers. The CDC stated that in the last year there were 11,000 deaths due to overdose. I was talking to a friend the other day in Venice, and that's in the programs and stuff. And they said there was a few people that OD'd just recently. That's a travesty. 4.2 million people in the United States have used heroin at some point in their lives. Now I have a fear of needles. I almost pass out. I can't imagine doing that. But it's a travesty, and they're doing this because they were addicted. Generally, they're addicted to pain pills. They're going to heroin, which is the alternative. That's why we're seeing such a huge uptick right now. It's a lucrative market. The Mexican cartels throughout the United States now, folks, they're huge into it. They essentially have replaced Afghanistan as the main supplier to heroin that comes into the United States. And they're exporting all that lovely stuff over to here. And it doesn't even begin to tell the story of the human and emotional costs that heroin addiction places on individuals, on families, on the treatment providers. You know, being the parent, being a spouse, being a child of a heroin user is never-ending nightmare of any drug user. You swing between their enraged at individuals to terrified in life. We've all seen it when someone's in need of a hit. So what's leading to all this? You know, why are they replacing cocaine, meth, and everything else? All these overdoses with opioid painkillers. 9,000 more deaths than those from heroin, folks. 2.1 million people are addicted to prescription painkillers. Yet, what's being done? I gotta tell you, I love the fact that you can go in and sue this doctor, because I see it all the time where doctors, now, could that get us into some trouble? Yeah. But doctors are immediately, oh, I got a pain in my back. Take a pill. Don't try to resolve the root problem to the issue. Take a pill. And they don't monitor them. They don't study them. But you have an increase in the whole prescription pain pill market, especially here in Florida, because they've enacted some new systems in place to try to prevent people from taking them. But this whole heroin addiction, this epidemic, cannot be curbed until you curb the prescription pain-killing problem. The spike in those drugs is what's leading to the heroin. And what we need is the doctors, the hospitals, the administrators, the pharmaceutical companies, the health insurance companies, all these guys to come up with ideas, alternatives. You know, I get that there is 25 million Americans out there with intractable chronic pain and they need something. I get that. Come up with a solution to control it and not destroy these people's lives, not destroy their families' lives. It's time. You need to get out there and you need to confront the culture of it. The phenomenon that leads Americans to be predisposed to going out and just getting some kind of drug, an addiction. And you got these supply of drugs, prescription, illicit, and everything that exists because the demand is out there. The demand keeps increasing. You know, you go out there, you get injured, you're in an auto accident, you have unavoidable injuries, unavoidable illnesses, lack of exercise, work hard, whatever. You get out there and you're in acute pain. You need a pain pill. It doesn't matter if it's physical or emotional pain. It's a pill we look for an answer, as the solution. And that's what modern medicine's teaching us. They're deluding us with opioid painkillers. Psychiatry. It's become such that when you go in there, they just prescribe medication. It's effectively the first line of treatment, bypassing any lifestyle changes, any exercise, psychotherapy, a social support system. No, they'd rather give you a pill. Because they can give you a pill. You can go in for 15 minutes. They give you a pill. They bill it out for an hour or $250 or $350. And they're done. Wash your hands. We need to start respecting our bodies. You know, I get out. I go to the gym, die hard, every day. Well, 6 days a week. 2 hours a day. I'm 50 years old. Respect your body. I have pain, but I refuse. My wife has tried to give me a pain pill before when I threw my back out. I took a half of it. I did not like it, and I didn't take it anymore. And I'm hesitant to ever take it because I'm nervous that I'll be somehow addicted to it. My buddy, so many buddies that I know, they've went and tried crack. They're like, oh, I'm just going to try this for the first time. They tried it once. They're addicted. They went out and they kept wanting more and more and more and more. It only takes that one time, folks. It doesn't matter who you think you are, if you think you're strong enough to beat the addiction. And it's not a healthy addiction. It's not like my addiction to working out, which is pretty healthy, or my addiction to work. I work 14, 16 hours a day. Not always healthy, but it's better than being addicted to heroin or painkillers. But we need to respect our body. You know, I'm guilty of this. I get up, I kick-started with caffeine. Oh, a lot of people are saying caffeine's good for you. If you want to relax, a lot of people go out and they take alcohol, they smoke a joint. You got raves, you got farm parties. You know, teenagers are out there thinking it's cool. It's been known here in Sarasota County, they'll take out a bowl and just throw any kind of pills in there. And you take a pill and try any pill. Pills in a bowl. It's like a Russian roulette. But people are doing it out there. And I just want to touch on it because I can't stand seeing these deaths of these kids. And I know, I've been in this community for a long time. I know a lot of the drug addicts here, even though the people of my community, Venice, 20,000 people, don't like to admit that there's a drug problem. There is a drug problem here. It's systemic. I know a lot of people that are on drugs here. I've been here since '82. I went to high school here. So I have friends that are some of the biggest pain dealers in the area, some of the biggest pot dealers. Well, not friends, they're associates. I know them from high school and that. It's epidemic, folks. All right, this is going to be the end of the show. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Remember to visit the uncensoredreport.com. Click on longevity for some great minerals and vitamins that'll get you perked up and get you going like me. Strong like bull. All right. And that's it. So this has been Francesco Abbruzzino. Everybody have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.